Hi Cancer, welcome to your February 2020 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, just check out the description of the video for more information on that. As far as what we have in front of us, we have a Celtic cross spread as always. You guys got quite a few extra cards that came up there. And we also have a couple of oracle cards we'll take a look at, and a mudra card. So first, to get started with the main spread, in the main situation position, we have the Sun. So, interesting here as far as this is definitely a pretty positive card to get in this position. And this can just be saying that maybe you feel a bit liberated, maybe feeling a bit youthful and playful if this is actually pointing to your energy. Now, timeline-wise, that might seem a little off, right? As far as you guys just went through an eclipse in your sign. I'm actually recording this a couple days after that. So, maybe for some of you that can just be saying that it was a bit of a purge for you guys, where maybe, just going through that eclipse, now it's one of those things where it's like nowhere to go but up type situations. But this can just be saying that you guys are in the spotlight in some way as well, given that we have the Sun energy. This isn't technically the major arcana card for Leo, but if we think about the fact that Leo is ruled by the Sun, that could be what this is referring to in that regard. For some of you, I'm also picking up on a possible pregnancy as well, just because along with this, the Sun card, which has the child on it, we also have the Empress at the bottom of the deck for you guys. So that's another indicator of pregnancy sometimes. So that could be what's at play for some of you, where maybe you're finding out that you're pregnant. But overall, this is definitely a pretty positive energy to have in the main situation position, especially in the upright. So, I feel like in one way, shape, or form, there is either you're in a positive mood, or there's going to be some positive news coming your way that will put you in this mood. And like I said, for some of you, that could be finding out you're pregnant. In the challenge or obstacle position, we have the Ten of Pentacles. So, to see this tied in and to see it come up as a challenge too, whereas normally this would be a pretty positive thing along with the Sun card. Now let's just look at a couple practical ways that could be playing out. One way, if we're going back to the pregnancy thing, right? Maybe on the one hand you're really excited that you are pregnant, but on the other hand you might be a little bit worried now about the finances, right? Because now you're like, all right, well, now we really need to build up our finances because we're going to be having a child soon. So that could be why this is showing up in the challenge or obstacle position for you guys. Another way this could be playing out is maybe it's saying that you guys are getting recognition in your workplace, right? So, but maybe you're kind of new to the job. So on the one hand, you're excited to be getting that recognition and being in the spotlight in a certain way, shape, or form. But at the same time, the challenge or obstacle could be for you to turn that into a pay increase, right? So like, okay, well, that's great that they're giving me these, this praise, these accolades, but actually, how do I turn that into actual tangible financial benefit, right? So maybe you feel like you're too new to ask for that. So that could be what's at play for some of you as well. And, this is actually a Virgo energy. And for you guys, Virgo is your third house of communication. So that can just be saying that, all right, you might be having this bit of a hot streak in your workplace, but the difficulty for you is to actually, feel comfortable enough to speak up about the fact that you feel like, okay, well, obviously I'm exceeding expectations in my work, so I'd like a pay increase, so maybe there's some hesitation around doing that. And I do have to say, lastly, what this can even be for some of you, this can actually be a possible legal dispute where child custody or, at least child support might be in question. And the reason I say that could be the case is in the foundation position, I'm seeing the King of Swords energy here, and that can sometimes point to legal, sometimes a lawyer. So for some of you, that can be what's at play there. But we actually have quite a few cards in the foundation. We have the King of Swords, King of Wands, the Nine of Swords, and the Ten of Swords. So pretty interesting mixture of energies here. The first thing that comes to my mind, seeing the King of Swords, well, I already mentioned that for some of you this could be a possible legal situation. Um, but seeing these two cards in particular, King of Swords actually represents Aquarius energy, and this represents Leo energy, the King of Wands. So this makes me think of potentially the full moon that we're going to have in Leo, because the sun will be in Aquarius, it'll be opposite the moon in Leo. So maybe there's going to be something around the full moon in Leo that's going to cause you some anxiety and possibly will lead to an ending. For others of you, this can just be saying that you have anxiety because maybe you know, for example, maybe there's already a date set around that full moon in Leo, and you have some major anxiety around it because you think it will lead to an ending, and possibly you might feel like it won't turn out in your favor. These two are both Gemini energies, the 9 and the 10 of Swords, and that's your 12th house. So this could even say that maybe something that you had anxiety around and maybe even came to an end during the time when we had that Gemini full moon. So that would have been around mid-December. Maybe during the time of Aquarius, and particularly during that full moon in Leo, maybe that's going to come back up for review again. So that could be what's at play for some of you as well. And if that's the case, it might actually be a positive outcome. Whereas, maybe around the time of the Gemini full moon, you might have been looking at it in one way, really worrying about it, really thinking that, oh, okay, well, this situation's over with. But now when we get to the actual full moon in Leo, you might actually find that it's actually going to turn out far better than you expected. So that could be, like I said, we mentioned some of the possible ways that could be playing out. So that could be, for some of you, a legal situation that turns out better than you thought. For some of you, like I said, it could be finding out you're pregnant. Others of you, maybe it's a financial thing in your workplace where maybe you thought, oh, I'm not going to get the promotion, or I'm not going to get the raise, but maybe that turns around and you actually do find out positive news in that area. So a few different ways it could play out depending on your situation. You'll know which of those situations resonates with you. In the past, we have the Four of Swords. So this can just be saying that maybe you guys are really just getting a lot of rest. This is actually a Libra energy. And for you guys, Libras, you have 4th house. For some of you, it can just be saying that you were sick. And because of that, you were taking this rest to heal from the sickness. And I do have to say that even this, to me, can point to the pregnancy thing, right? Maybe for some of you, you might have been feeling a bit sick and not knowing exactly what the source of it was, right? Maybe your energy levels might have been fluctuating quite a bit, and then maybe that's what made you go to the doctor, and then maybe you find out, oh, turns out I'm pregnant, right? And I do have to say, for a few of you, if that's the case too, that might actually end up being what might bring you back into contact with someone if you did actually separate from this person. Again, I'm getting maybe around the time of that Gemini full moon in mid-December, maybe you find this news out and now it's like, all right, well, now the challenge might be to put the relationship back together, right? So that could be what's at play for some of you. If that's the case, it does look like there will be some positive energy put toward putting it back together, just so you guys know. But that's one way I could see it playing out. For others of you, given that this is the card that comes after the Three of Swords, this can also point to that maybe you guys did have a breakup with someone, whether there's pregnancy involved or not. Could even be a Leo that you're dealing with, for example, since we do see some Leo energy. This could just be saying that, maybe around the time of that, specifically I'm feeling more the Leo full moon than anything, but maybe around that time you might actually be able to put that connection back together. In the present position, we have the Seven of Cups. So this definitely represents that you have some confusion going on, at least as of right now. It's technically a Scorpio energy. It represents the last 10 degrees of Scorpio. But what this is making me think of a bit more is the fact that we're actually going to have Mercury retrograde in February in the sign of Pisces. So even though this technically is a Scorpio card, it does give me that Neptune vibe too. And, I'm just thinking about the fact that we will have Mercury in retrograde, so maybe you might feel a little bit confused as far as which way to go coming into the month. But That's most likely what it's regarding, and the good thing is, looking at the cards as we progress, it looks like it'll be short-lived. Excuse me. So probably be getting a lot of clarity this month. In the near future position, we have the Chariot. So this is actually the major arcana card for your sign. So to see this and the sun, that's a pretty good combination as far as showing that it looks like you're really on the right path. Things will be going well for you. Like I said, for some of you, you might not be feeling that way just yet, especially if you're watching this when I first posted it, because that full moon might have been pretty intense for some of you. But this definitely represents forward movement, feeling energized, going in the right direction, feeling like you're on the right path. This is your major arcana card, so it doesn't get much better than that. And to see this coming up in the near future position after seeing the sun, even though we do see that Seven of Cups and a little bit of intense energy down here in the foundation, I do see that for a lot of you, this is actually going to improve as the month goes along. And for some of you, it might even take until, let's say, when the sun moves into Pisces, but, even so, that will be in February. So that could just be what it's saying there as far as near future. Maybe it might take until you get more of that energy moving through the water sign, a fellow water sign of yours, to get you really feeling like you're back in good shape. As far as the energy, as far as your energy toward the situation, wherever, we have the Hangman, the Ace of Wands, and the Knight of Wands. So interesting mixture of energy here. The Hangman is a Pisces energy for one, but that's also, to me, feeling a bit, well, usually this is by choice. Usually this is when you're trying to look at things from a different perspective and trying to figure out your best way forward, taking a little bit of time off. So to me, this looks more like, let's say, the Four of Swords and the Seven of Cups energy, where you're really trying to look at things, not quite ready to take action yet. But then we see that Ace of Wands, which could be saying that you get some kind of insight when you do reflect inward, take some time to figure out what your next step should be. Looks like you do get an idea of what move you want to make, and then you actually might act on it. Now, given that this is Sagittarius energy, this could be pointing to your work and your daily routine. So for some of you, this can all be around finances, where, like I said, maybe for some of you, you're getting recognition in your career, but you feel like the money's slow to come up behind it, right? So this could be as simple as maybe some of you decide to speak out about that, or maybe realizing that you're, doing so well in your career, you might actually put your resume out there to see if there is some other, job offers where they might offer you better pay. So that could be what's at play there. And there will be at least a little bit of energy moving into your 10th house of career in February as well. So that might help boost things a little bit too. Now, interestingly, in the environment position, we have Page of Swords in reverse, Seven of Swords in reverse, and Eight of Wands in reverse. So this is an interesting mixture of energy here. I'll put them in the upright while we talk about them, but Page of Swords in the upright, normally this would mean someone communicating to you. I usually say it's usually via social media, because those trees always remind me of the logo, the Facebook F. So usually this would represent someone reaching out via social media. With Seven of Swords in the upright, that would usually point to some kind of deception, and then Eight of Wands represents a lot of action being taken, usually a lot of messages back and forth as well. But to have all three of those in reverse, it's interesting. So to me, this can just be saying that you could have someone in your environment that's completely silent right now. They're not reaching out to you. The positive side of that is they're not being deceptive, at least, so they're not coming forward and giving you lies, but they're not taking action either. So for those of you where, if maybe in the past there was an argument with someone, right, and maybe they might have even accused you of being deceptive, so maybe that's what ended up happening, and maybe now they realize that it wasn't the case. So that's why that's in reverse, along with the Page of Swords in reverse, which is basically saying that they came to the realization that you actually weren't being deceptive the way they might have thought, but they're not quite sure what to do about it yet. You know what I mean? So for some of you, like I said, if there was some kind of a breakup around the time of the Gemini full moon in particular, um, maybe if you look around the time of the Leo full moon, I feel like things might get back on track. But at least as of right now, that might explain if there is someone that seems to have gone completely silent on you, that might be the situation. And I do have to say, given that that full moon in Gemini was in your 12th house, this can represent your energy, where maybe you were the one who might have accused someone of something, and now you might, it might have come to light that that wasn't the case, that, they actually weren't deceiving you. And now maybe that's why you're in the hangman position, and this could just be all pointing to your energy, saying that you're not ready to take action yet with that Eight of Wands coming up in reverse, but eventually you will be. So, could go either way. But the good thing is, if you are worried about deception either way, with this coming up that way in the environment, I think that you don't have to worry about that. Even if there's someone who's thinking about doing so, it looks like they actually won't actually take action on that. So maybe you're protected in that regard if there is someone who planned on being deceptive with you, but for whatever reason that communication's not going to come through. In the environment position, we have the Magician and the Page of Pentacles. So for some of you, this can just be saying that you're hoping to manifest an increase in your finances. And we did see that possibly there too with the Ten of Pentacles. Like I said, especially if you are pregnant, right? Or for some of you, this can just represent some kind of a creative idea that you recently launched. And it's like, all right, well, I have this great idea. It's somewhat successful, but how do I turn it into something that will actually bring income in, right? So maybe you have some really popular blog or something like that, right? But now it's like, okay, well, how do I turn this into a way where I can monetize off the popularity, right? So maybe that's something that you've been trying to think about. And seeing these cards come up in the Opus position, given that the Magician's pointing up to the Strength card up top, can actually represent that you might get a good idea for that, especially since for you guys, the Strength representing Leo, that is your second house of finances. So could be a positive shift there as well. And then Empress energy usually makes people think of Taurus energy, which is the natural second house. So this can point to increases in finances in that regard too. All right, and in the outcome position, we have the Strength card and the Two of Cups. So this is actually a Cancer energy. So for those of you who have your Cancer placement in the first 10 degrees, you might resonate with this a bit more. And I do have to say, the North Node is actually in those degrees right now too. It's going to be moving into Gemini later this year, but until it does, it'll actually be moving through these degrees of Cancer. So just so you know, the nodes go backwards through the zodiac, if you're wondering why I'm saying that. But yeah, so these two cards together, for some of you, this, like I was saying, for some of you, I picked up that maybe you guys were dealing with the Leo. So maybe if there's a Leo that you might have had a separation with, and maybe that's what all this is pointing to, it looks like you guys will actually get the relationship back on track. This could once again be pointing to what I was saying with the full moon in Leo. So there's definitely some significance to that. And maybe that's just saying to a timeline, whether you're dealing with an actual Leo or not. Could just be saying that around that full moon, you guys will actually be able to repair a connection if it has fallen off the rails for whatever reason. And this can also represent finances, even though we tend to think love when we see the two cups and the two people. But this could even just point to an agreement of some kind of a partnership in, any area. So that could be what that's pointing to as well. So definitely keep an eye out for that full moon in Leo. I'm definitely seeing a lot of symbolism around that in the spread. So something to keep an eye out for. All right, moving on to your oracle cards. First, we have Deep Knowing. There's the artwork, and the number is 43. So we'll see what that has to say. All All right, it says intuition, listening to the oracle within, empathy, hypersensitivity. The oracle's message. Intuition is the faculty that allows you to enter into a dialogue with Source, the consciousness that you are a part of but cannot see with the naked eye. It's perplexing that people are taught to ignore this natural capacity to navigate their journeys, to access their inner guidance. Know that you have an ability to read between the lines and find all the truth that was missing when the story was told. This deep knowing allows you to open the door to wisdom far greater than what is available in the limitations of human experience. You're given information that may make no sense whatsoever to the logical mind or five senses, but which is 100% correct and true. The trick is to listen and then to act accordingly. You're now invited into the sacred dialogue of deep knowing, so tune in and trust your vibes. They will be right. Ask and you will receive answers from unusual sources. So definitely an interesting message there, and what stood out to me the most was the part that it actually emphasized, actually taking that time off and then taking action. The trick is to listen and then to act accordingly. That made me think of the hangman, right? Which is listening, really trying to look at things from a different perspective. And then we have the Ace of Wands and the Knight of Wands, which would represent the taking action part of that. So definitely interesting that came up that way. The relationship message says there are occasions when you just know, deep in your heart and soul, that a person is going to play a meaningful role in your life. Someone crosses your path, and suddenly, out of the blue, you're connected at a level impossible to describe. That feeling marks a moment in time etched indelibly onto your soul. Someone has entered your life who will be instrumental in your journey, so pay attention. Two hearts are calling to each other to begin an alchemical process. This is also a sign that your intuition about the person you care about is correct. Trust your heart to lead you now. Magic is about to happen. So what that was talking about there, it could be pointing to what we see there in the outcome with the strength and the two of cups. So for some of you, this can be someone new, but I do like how it said you could trust your intuition as well. So like I said, for some of you, I feel like there might have been, and especially that full moon in Gemini keeps coming to mind back in December, where maybe you thought something was going on and you might have ended a situation, and now maybe you see it from a different perspective and you realize, oh wait, maybe I wasn't seeing it correctly, right? Maybe even the full moon in your sign helped you integrate that information and see it a different way. And now by the full moon in Leo, you might be able to get things back on track. Okay, the prosperity message says this is a time when your hunches will pay large dividends if you listen to them, take the risk, and act. Within you there is an oracular consciousness, a higher and deeper knowing that transcends the machinations of the smaller thinking mind. At the deep level of your intuitive senses, you have an access point to the genius of the collective. The energies of all thinkers and creators, all inventors and leaders, and all that you need in order to leap into success are available to tune into. This is an act of listening intently. Past the busy mind, your genius awaits. So definitely interesting there too, because that makes me think of what I was saying for some of you where maybe you have some kind of a creative project or just something creatively that you've launched that's been really popular, but it hasn't been bringing you any financial rewards yet, right? Like I said, I gave an example of just a generic example. Maybe you have a blog or a YouTube channel, for example, that's really popular, but you're not able to monetize on it yet. So maybe that's where you get that insight. Okay, this is what I can do to actually help me monetize this, thing that I have going for me. So keep an eye out for those types of things too. All right. And next we have Butterfly Spirit. It says transformation is beautiful. There's the artwork and the number is 11. Okay, it says joy in the beautiful lightness of being alive and creative in the world is the focus when butterfly spirit flutters before you. Transformation is inevitable as you grow into your most beautiful, empowered self. Indeed, you will go through some uncomfortable stages as you let go of the forms of your life that no longer fit the new you. Even relationships must go through shifts to match your new emerging self. If you focus on the beauty and not the challenges, stop taking yourself too seriously, and choose to be playful, loving, and joyous, you will soon know the miracle your soul wants to experience through you. Today is the day for joy, sow a light. Look around and see the beauty that is everywhere and in everyone, including you. So, pretty positive message there. Hopefully, you guys got something from that. And lastly, we have a mudra card. So, the mudra you guys got this month is the Anjali mudra. There it is. And the keyword for it is reverence. Try to get it to focus so you guys can see what it has to say about it. Alright, it's not cooperating. Well, let's try again. There we go. Okay, see under benefits it says calming and centering, facilitates connection to the heart and central channel, evokes feelings of humility, reverence, and devotion. So if that sounds like something that you think would be beneficial for you guys, I will put the name of the mudra in the description of the video as always, so you can look into it a little bit more. But we'll wrap up there, guys. I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.